Hey everybody, welcome back. We are Into the Black. Today's guest is someone who has truly made a mark in the culinary world, across the world and in Delaware. From winning the Netflix show Pressure Cooker, you kept that so secret, I swear to God, to outcooking some of the best chefs on Beat Bobby Flay and Guy's Grocery Games. He is no stranger to the kitchen and the spotlight. He is the mastermind behind Pizzeria Mariana in Newark, Delaware, is a fellow TEDx speaker, and has recently taken on an exciting new role at Deep Blue at Kitty Night. Please join me in welcoming the talented and acclaimed Chef Robbie Jester.
Thank you very much.
We did
It's good to be. We finally did it. I think that this is a 3-month process for us, but we're finally here.
I know. So I believe the first time I had to cancel, then the second time you had to cancel.
Yep.
Then the last time I had to cancel because the inspectors were coming the day, to inspect my lovely space.
Of course.
And then, but I think it happened for a reason. Because today on Facebook, it's our 5-year friendiversary.
Aww.
Isn't that great?
That's so sweet.
So cheers. To the 5-year friendiversary.
Yep.
We never got to work together professionally. Not yet, anyway. But we did collaborate on multiple rooms and had some great conversations on Clubhouse. For those who don't know, Clubhouse is a social audio app that kind of shit the bed.
They were doing great for a while, but definitely is not on the radar as
No,
much
not anymore. Apparently, there's a new app called Chatter. I've been invited to that, so
Okay.
We'll see what happens with that. But now you're taking on larger stages, obviously, on Chopped and winning Pressure Cooker. So did you always know you were meant for something bigger than just being a cook in a restaurant in the second smallest state in the country?
No, I wouldn't say no. Always wanted, though. Definitely wanted something bigger. Wanted to play on a national stage. Didn't really know what that stage was going to be or how it was going to happen, but it's kind of like you put your faith, you put your faith out there and see what lands. So, but yeah, always definitely a want there. The knowing has come as I get a little bit older and have a little bit more faith in the things that are happening in my life and my ability to manifest things and the team around me. But, always a want and newly a no.
Okay. Yeah. So was there this moment, this pivotal moment where you're just like, okay, I'm meant to do so much more than just be was there ever that okay, this is gonna go somewhere?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say with the TV stuff, although the TV stuff is great, but it was a moment where I was working for another company and they asked me what my 5-year goals, my 1-year goal, 5-year goal, 10-year goals. And, my 10-year goals were, to be chef over multiple concepts, to have more impact than I could in 4 walls, and to build multiples of something. And within the next 24 months, we were on a path to do that. And once, that stuff came so rapidly, I kind of was like, okay, I was playing small, so, and it's just like that ceiling that we sometimes give to ourselves in what we dream is possible, what we think is possible. And for that moment, for me, I thought those were great, big, giant dreams when I said them out loud, and they sounded really good, to leadership at the time. And then when we got there so rapidly, I realized, man, I am just playing super small. So, and then some things have happened and pivots in my career along the way. With the TV stuff, I had gone to a bunch of Top Chef casting calls and never got picked. Made it through a couple different interviews and along the process, but never got picked. And then I got called for Guy's Grocery Games from going to one of those casting calls.
Right.
And I remember finishing up Guy's Grocery Games, and you're walking through the, I lost the first episode in the final round. You're walking through the make-believe electric door.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a... like a melancholy kind of surreal moment because you're going home, you lost, and they're actually not real electric doors. So there's somebody behind the door with a pulley going door, 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 door. So you don't walk into the door on your way out. And, I remember saying to myself, if they called me to come back, I would do it again. As I was walking through the door, that was the thought that I had. And it wasn't 6 months later where they gave me another call and were like, hey, do you want to come back out for a redemption tournament?
Right.
And it's odd because going out for the first one, I didn't feel myself winning. I felt myself experiencing TV, but I didn't feel like there was a win there. But when I went out the second time, I felt like that was a possibility. And then when it happened and I had, make it to the final episode, I'm like, well, shit, I hadn't even really thought about this. So just like a testament to like, you have to think it a step further and think it a step bigger. And, from there, just more TV has happened and more opportunities have happened. And I find that it's always the coolest jump right after the most stressful part in your life. So
yeah, because it's like that you're kind of getting through all the trenches, you're getting muddy, you're getting dirty, and then finally you gotta get through the muck, and then you're like, that next one after that,
you're being prepared.
Yes. Yeah, because God does not throw anything at you that you can't handle, right?
Nope. So. But sure, man, it does feel like it sometimes.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
Ooh.
Yeah, it does. So out of all the shows that you've been on, which one is your favorite? And who is your favorite, like, I don't know, production team to work with? Because I've been on Triple D, and they were super dope to work with. I love the production team over there. But what was, like,
yeah, I mean, so favorite to be on, Pressure Cooker, because out of Pressure Cooker came lifelong friends, both on the cast side of things and the producer side of things. There's just people that were, and, like, you're there for a month long. You're living on set. Like, it's just, you spend so much more time with people. You get to know people both behind the camera and on the camera. So like those types of relationships, I mean, it really was like a pressure cooker of relationships as well, because you're so incubated from everything else going on that you just like, your relationships progress so much faster. So that's probably my favorite. The most fun that I've had doing TV though was Chopped.
Yeah.
I really, really just loved it. I felt like I was very much seated in making my food my way as much as you can with, a sausage stuffed pork leg, in the basket and rose jelly and stuff like that. Yeah. But I really appreciated the judges on that one. They were super thoughtful and the critique was just wonderful. My co-chefs, co-competitors were super fun to be around, especially the finale episode. And actually, Chef Pat, he has a podcast who was in the finale with me. And he and I have talked numerous times about me, like, going on his podcast or something like that. He's based out of Atlanta. And we get to the finale. We haven't seen each other. We've been in a hotel for a week. And I walked into the lobby on finale day. I was like, yo, man, what's up? And he was like, yo. And they were like, oh, you guys know each other? That's not fair. I'm like, oh, shut up.
That is so funny.
But it was super fun. Like, that one was really fun, really, like, when I felt like I was the most comfortable as a cook. But that's a theme for my food right now. I really feel like at this point in my career, I'm making the best food of my career right now. And I've never been somebody in love with my own food. I'm my own worst critic. Like, I always look at it and go, this could be better, this could be better, this could be better. But since coming home from Pressure Cooker, there's probably been 20 times where I've tasted something that I've worked on and been like, man, fuck, that's good. It's so good.
It's so good to, like, finally feel like everything that you've worked on and for, it's like now you can literally taste it, right? And that's such a good feeling, and that's such a confidence booster. So obviously you come from a background of working in your parents' seafood restaurant. You would be a second or third generation chef?
Second.
Generation.
I mean, you could say third. Both of my grandmothers on both sides of the family were very, very skilled cooks, but my grandmother on my dad's side, she did work in a commercial bakery and do it as a profession. But my grandmother on my mom's side, she just was a good down-home cook.
Okay.
And under the respects of, like, you were never going to waste anything, you were always going to preserve everything.
Yes.
So she was a wonderful cook, but also the canning, the pickling, the freezing, the preserving, all of that stuff, which felt like punishments growing up.
Yes.
For us, really just, is a core of, like, the food that I love now.
I feel like that's very generational. Like, our generation tends to not lean into the canning and the pickling and all of that stuff. My husband learned from his grandfather about the pickling and the preserving, and so my husband hates throwing anything away. Like, he gets so mad at me, and he's like, no, like, we need to eat that or save it. So your early experiences working in your family's restaurant, how did that prepare you for, like, the high pressure environments? Because, I mean, working with family is high pressure, period.
Sure is. And my dad was a screamer pot thrower. He was basically everything that you hear about that generation of chefs, he was that, minus the cocaine and the drugs. Never did any of that stuff.
Right.
But he was definitely volatile. He was definitely. I wouldn't say that he did it for the love of it. He did it because he was good at it, and he had a very high standard of execution, especially when it came to like preparation, ticket times, and how much you were getting done in a certain amount of time. So there wasn't downtime. Like when I entered into the working world where there were breaks, I was like, what do you mean there's a break?
Right.
Like there was never
You don't have to eat on the fly? What?
Yeah. I mean, there was never a break. There wasn't family meal. There wasn't any of that. You just
Right.
like, I came to work, I worked, and he literally would sit. I mean, this tells you, like, this is aging me a little bit, but he would sit in a stool on the edge of the line and smoke a cigarette and point and tell me what to do.
Dude,
He wouldn't.
that is micromanaging to a new
Yep.
level. Wow.
He wouldn't. I mean, unless we were ungodly busy, he would not move. And if I took a deep breath and looked at a ticket, he would go, what are you looking at? I read the tickets. I know what's on there. Like,
oh my God,
just,
that is so
just
high
and
pressure.
he would say,
Holy
do
shit.
something even if it's wrong. And I have the tattoo with a guest check on my arm. It says, do something even if it's wrong. Because I, like, hated that when I heard it. But now it's almost a rallying cry for me, like, to take action in the moments where I'm stagnant to get to a place of a higher level of happiness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
me,
no,
so.
I love that. So speaking of tattoos, which one is your favorite? Because you have I love the high C one over here. You got the, oh yeah, like, yeah. Tell me, what's your favorite?
I mean, you know, I've got the Etch-a-Sketch with my daughter's
That one's so
name,
cool.
so that one's
That
super
one's recent,
cool.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all recent. I had zero tattoos before pressure cooker. So.
What?
Yeah, so they're all post pressure cooker.
And how many months is that? That hasn't even been that long.
It has been a year.
Dude, you went that eight.
Oh, I went hard. Yep, I went hard in the paint.
Dude, that is amazing. I love that so much.
Favorite one? I mean, you know, this whole arm is like family and food.
Yes.
So I would say that they're a lot more sentimental. The I look at you and I'm home is Finding Nemo quote from my wife. All of the food pieces around it are all memories of family members.
Dude, the detail on that food is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, that's Reggie Omnia tattoo. Reggie,
Yeah.
he's great. The Old Bay is fantastic. The Old Bay and the crab are for one of my uncles. The corn, my grandfather was a corn farmer. The jelly is the grandmother who was a baker, couldn't read and write, so but she still wanted to contribute to the family. She would make jellies and jams and pillows and all that stuff like that. And she would have my brother and I write all of the labels. So that's kind of there as a reminder of those times. The old brown coffee cup, that's another grandfather. The peas, a grandmother who always punished us by making us shell peas. The bolognese is for my mother. 5-leaf clovers for my wife. This is actually a recipe card. It's my dad's handwriting. It's one of his recipe cards from culinary school.
Dude, that is so
This
dope.
recipe, but it is his. These are all things I made as a kid.
That is like a scrapbook of your life, man.
Yeah.
That is
And
so
then I
dope.
got, use first. My chef de cuisine has
Yes.
the Sharpie. Shrimp scampi for Bobby Flay.
Dude.
Pressure cooker.
It's like
for
your
pressure cooker.
life book, not a yearbook, a life book.
This was the first one, the sport.
Yes, I love that. And then you have
also-
the where's that?
and then
Where's
I have the knife on the other side.
Yeah.
Which, hindsight's 20/20. Getting a chef's knife on your hand like that is great, but then when you close your hand, you have a Santoku knife, so it's a little bit different. But those two on the outside of the hand, they're probably the most painful.
Really?
Yep, like this one, and after this one, I was
Yeah.
like, whoo, I don't know, and then I went and got everything else. So.
Yeah.
And then, just like, I'm an 80s and 90s kid, so this is all 80s and 90s stuff.
Dude, that one's the best right there.
Yeah, I'm gonna add, so we have I'm gonna add to it. I'm getting a Gizmo duck.
Oh, okay, very cool.
I'm getting Gizmo.
Dude, you're just
Raphael.
gonna be completely
Yep.
sleeved up by the end of your culinary journey.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Dude, that's amazing. So back to the ticket you said with the debt. What was the quote?
Do something even if it's wrong.
So obviously you carry that through your culinary journey, your experience, how you work, how you execute. Is there something that like you were like, I'm not going to do that?
Oh, the screaming and pot throwing.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. The personal insults slung on the line. Yeah, that was, for everything great that I think he taught me, I think the greatest thing that I learned was what I didn't want to be like as a chef. And this inkling in me to challenge the negatives in authority. So not just challenge authority just to be like rebellious, but to like take a look at something that they might say is like a rule of business or a rule of restaurants or a rule of chefing, and question that because it came from their frame of reference, from their belief system, and not from yours, and going, okay, that's what they believed and it was their truth, but is that really true across the board? And, he believed that as the boss, you couldn't be friends with your employees. I don't believe that. I do believe that you should guard yourself and be careful, because a lot of people at the outset are different than they will be a year from now. He believed that that intimidation was the way to get the most out of people. And I don't believe that either. I believe that when you're going to get the most out of people is when they find fulfillment in the conquering of their own obstacles, through the lens of your business. I think that you get the most out of people that way. I think that you should care about people's personal lives. And my father was a generous boss if you made it that far.
Right. Yeah.
So, he took care of people that took care of him, and I try to do the same thing. I just don't make you go through the gauntlet to get there.
Right.
But I just have a huge heart, and one of the biggest things that he and I would fight over would be when he would come down on employees or other team members, and he was the hardest on me, but it was worse for me when he was hard on somebody else, because then I would jump in to defend them, and that was when we would have the most friction. So I think I've been that person my entire career after that. And then what I realized is all of that tension between me and leadership, me and ownership, or whatever it is, to feel like an advocate for the team, really was a sign for me that eventually I needed to do it my way, for me, on my terms, because I was never going to be happy with the way that they treated the team.
Right. Yeah. And so I don't know, have you watched the recent season of The Bear yet?
Yes, I have.
Season 3. They really focused in on his mental health, and that one dude. What is that guy's name?
I don't know what his name is in there, but I
but
know
the
who you're
actor,
talking
though,
about.
the actor is so ridiculously funny, but he plays such a freaking prick in this. Like, just, calling him names and degrading him, it really takes a toll. So do you feel like the future of chefs and a lot of people in the kitchen, it's going to be more like leaning in towards friendships, relationships, empathy, like not being like an asshole to your servers and to the people on the line, and making perfect? Do you think there's like a shift in that?
Well, I think that you don't have to have one or the other. So I think that you can have that high level of execution and perfection. You can cultivate that over time. If that's the type of food and the type of restaurant that you want to have, you can cultivate that over time, while at the same time developing people, having their whole life in mind and not just their work life. I just, I'm on, it's not, and I know it's not a one-man mission, but it feels like it sometimes, like, to really rethink the way that we do business in this business and the way that we do people in this business, and realize that this is not sustainable for any of us. Management, ownership, team members included. And one of the things that I pride myself on is even at the catering business, Ingest Events. And the pizzeria is the same, and hopefully we get to the same place at Deep Blue at Kitty Night House, but I have the opposite problem that other people have. I don't have enough positions for the people that want to come work for me.
Well, that's lovely.
I'm not fighting to fill positions.
Right. That's a good problem. That's that's a great thing to have.
Like right now there is a cashier at the pizzeria who is probably going to give her notice because she's just she's moving into the next phase of her life and graduating and stuff like that.
Right.
And there's like 2 people that want that job right now. So it's like, I don't have that. And,
That's good.
I take that as one thing that I do exceptionally, because I would say that I am, as a chef making food, I look at the other talented chefs around me. I consider myself to be mediocre in the wake of their talent, but I am great at building a team and keeping a team.
Yeah. And it is really all about like relationships here in Delaware. Like, because
Yep.
it's such a small state. Like, it's crazy. You just like throw a rock and you hit like 3 people that you know when you go to the Acme or go
Absolutely.
to the farmer's market or something
Absolutely.
like that. So any kitchen disasters while working with your family that turned into a hilarious memory or like a valuable lesson that you carry through with your work?
I wish that I had like a hilarious memory about it. I mean, there's things that I laugh about now.
Yeah, right. Things you laugh about now that you're like, I can't believe that shit happened.
Kitchen food disasters. You know what's funny is like small problems he would lose his mind about. Big giant problems he just went into crisis management mode and wasn't even like angry about it. Like I remember one time dropping a whole tray of crab imperial, which is expensive.
Yeah.
And he was so calm about it, and I was like, well.
You're like,
not only am I fired, but I'm homeless now too. Is like what's going through my brain.
Yeah.
And he was totally calm about it. But you know, they're like working with family, so there was one moment that is like a little bit laughable now. But I was working a Sunday brunch. I wasn't feeling it. It was just me and him in the kitchen, and he told me to do something I didn't want to do while he was sitting on that stool, and I took my apron off and threw it at him.
Ooh.
And I said, I quit. And I've never saw before and never saw since that fat man move that fast out of that stool. And, you know, he pushed me. He didn't like hit me or anything. He pushed me, which rightfully so. Punk ass 17-year-old. I deserve to be pushed in that moment. Because ball your apron up and throw it into a grown man's face who's 180 pounds heavier than you.
Right.
And pushed me, and then I started walking home. And walking home from the restaurant would have been, about a 6-hour walk. It would not have been a quick walk.
Man.
But, I laugh at the idea of, like, walking out and stuff. And the audacity to take my apron off and throw it in his face like it was a movie or something like that. And he came home, and to his credit, for as hard as he was at work, he was 100% perfect at separating work and home.
That's awesome.
So the moment that he was home, he was not that he was easy at home, but he was no longer chef. He was dad,
Right.
and it had a completely different feel to it. I would say that I was less good at going from employee to son at home than he was at separating.
Do you feel like you're good at that as well with that? Did that teach you a little bit of something like, okay, I have to take off my chef hat now and put on my husband hat, my dad hat?
So I would say that I'm getting better at it. I would say that I'm trying not to make either so extreme that I have to click the shut off valve, but I do need transition time. And that's, one of the things that having my daughters made me realize is like, I was previously okay with just coming home and kind of like going about my day because as I was going about our evening or whatever, I was transitioning or, and there weren't like that many responsibilities, but now I come home and she's there and my wife's been taking care of her or, it's been a hard day or my mom's had her or whatever. So it's like, okay, now I'm going from chef to relief and I need to understand what that means. I need to get better at it, but they also need to have some grace for me that like I'm going from calling all the shots and having all the answers to sometimes the baby's crying and there is no answer.
Right.
you know, and it's definitely a learning process for me for sure.
What do you think? Because question for myself, like I find it very difficult to transition from like work mode from podcast mode to like mom mode to wife mode. What do you think is like, I don't know, what is a tip to like help transition, I guess?
I think open communication. I think having the communication that like, look, I'm going from adrenaline filled, keyed up boss mode to father and husband mode, and I need a little bit of time. And I understand that, and for my wife, it's different. And I realize that she goes to work and the first thing she wants is the baby.
Yeah.
Like she's just like so on Mondays, it's daddy daycare. I take care of Winnie on Mondays and she comes home from work and she immediately wants the baby.
Yeah.
And but she thinks because that's what she wants, that's immediately what I want. And it's not that I don't love my daughter. I could just stare at her all day long. Like, I think that she's the neatest kid ever, and I've never really been around a baby this young for this amount of time. And watching all the changes and the personality develop and the smiles, and, you know, now we're trying to coax a giggle out of her.
Aww.
And, you know, it's a beautiful thing. And it's not that I don't want her there. It's just that I feel like I am hardened, tough Robbie entering the household, and there needs to be time. Yeah. So we just recently had that conversation where, like, hey, I need 40 minutes or an hour to transition from boss, chef, business owner to dad and husband. And she's like, I just figured, and it was a great conversation because she was like, I just thought because the first thing I want is her, that the first thing you want is her. I was like, you hand her to me, and if I'm not immediately enthusiastic about it, I feel guilty.
Yeah.
Because I'm not enthusiastic about my newborn daughter, when in all reality, it's just I have these 4 other things that I'm clearing out of my brain that take precedent over me being able to enjoy this moment.
Yeah, it's all about transition and communication, like you said, for sure. So, obviously, the new babes. Congratulations. How old is she now?
5 months.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been 5 months already.
I know.
Good Lord. And has she been into the pizza shop or restaurant, and what's her favorite dish so far?
Well, her favorite dish is breast milk
right
at the moment. Okay. She hasn't had any solid food or purees yet, although she is showing interest. So but we take her everywhere. We take her absolutely everywhere. I mean, I think that she was home for 48 hours before we took her out to dinner.
Dude, that's amazing.
And she slept through dinner and everything. We have 3 dogs at home, so there's like a lot of noise and going and coming and all that stuff. So I think that she's
used to the hustle and bustle.
She sure is. So we take her, like, we go out to dinner, we take her out.
Dude, that's awesome.
And it's funny because depending on where you go, like, you get looks for bringing the baby carrier in. They're like, oh, you're going to ruin my experience by bringing this crying child. So, like, for instance, and this has nothing to do with the establishment, but we went to Bardea last week.
Oh, yeah.
We took a friend, the sous chef from the Kitty Night House. We went to Bardea, and we walk in with the baby carrier, and I see a couple of tables look at us and, like, roll their eyes, like, oh, you're bringing this child in here, and they're going to cry in the middle of our dinner, our multi-course dinner. And she never made a sound.
A peep.
We pulled her out, and by the end of it, they're all, like, smiling at her and like, whatever.
I bet.
Pull her out of the carrier. She's kind of, like, sitting on my lap, and she's just smiling at strangers in the room and having a great time. She's showing interest in the food now, so she sees, like, the food come out. She kind of, like, you see her not grab at it, but, like, just kind of, like, do, like, the puppet hands.
Yeah, game in.
Like, and, you know, smell it a little bit. So, like, that's encouraging. So as soon as I think that next month is when we'll start with the purees and stuff.
Okay.
And we're just gonna go at it.
Oh, dude, I bet she's.
But the vegetable stuff, like the nasty vegetables, I'm gonna make them because I don't want her to be like, oh, peas. When really it's not peas, it's canned peas that have been on the shelf for a year.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I did all of my daughter's like homemade purees and didn't use any of those jar things because it's so much better when it's fresh. We could get into the whole food thing of puree, but you know. So I like to stir up a little shit. What is your favorite restaurant in Delaware or the East Coast? Because I know you're from Maryland, right? So, like, Delaware or Maryland?
Hey, I've been in Delaware most of my life.
Yeah.
My favorite in Delaware, it's situational and seasonal. I would say when we're at home, I love Bardea Steak. Love it. Love exploring the menu at Bardea Steak. When we're at the beach, which I really enjoy, it's One Coastal.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. I haven't been there yet. Oh, my gosh.
So One Coastal, and it's the simplest dish ever, but it's so hard to actually make the right way. And he does this cacio pepe. My wife loves it. And I make cacio pepe. Yeah. We make it for the private chef experiences. We do it in just events. And she still would much rather have his. So,
really?
So I think that ours is delicious, but he does it fantastic, and he's a great human. And, you know, one of the beautiful things that I love about both of those establishments, both those chefs, to me, are worlds above me in the talent level and just wonderful human beings to be around. Antimo, fantastic to be around. Super humble. super good looking, god damn it, and just as great and hospitable as he can be.
Yes.
And Matt Kern, the same thing. Matt Kern is otherworldly talented, super smart, and just a wonderful person to talk to. And I just appreciate both of them. And if I rounded out that experience with stopping by one of the restaurants where Drew Tevis has pastries, and I have one of his pastries, that's my favorite to enjoy as a guest. Although my pastry chef, Austin, is fantastic. And he just came on. He's probably been with the team now 8 months.
And where's this at? Over at Katie Blue?
No. So this is In Just Events.
Oh, okay.
And he's amazing, and the pastries he makes are amazing, and it is difficult to walk through and not have his stuff.
One of it, yeah.
We did something for the Girl Scouts, and he did like a Girl Scout cookie, like with the do-si-do in the bottom of it, peanut butter, cupcakes stuffed with jelly with like peanut butter buttercream, and I told him he was fired, and then I was like, I'm just kidding. It's just so good that like I didn't have another reaction to that. Like, it was so good.
Oh, I'm excited because obviously we got married during the pandemic, my husband and I, and we are having our 5-year, and we'll probably use you as our caterer because we're gonna we didn't have a reception for our wedding, so we're doing it in the backyard. So
we'll do it up.
We'll talk, yeah, for sure. So let's see. I mean, I have there were so many questions I asked you that weren't like on the card. Anything else that you want to tell us? I mean, anything in the works going on? Like,
just working hard with In Just Events.
Yeah.
We kind of like do 2 sectors of thing, the full service catering, and then we do the private chef stuff, which it's summertime. We're doing tons of private chef stuff at the beaches and the Jersey Shore and all of that stuff. We do more locally with that, 3 or 4 course dinners. The pizzeria is trucking along. We're going to do a menu change at the pizzeria, a pretty massive one.
Do not get rid of those mozzarella sticks. If you get rid of those mozzarella sticks, I'm going to cry.
Everybody in the mozzarella sticks. So I probably will keep them on in some form.
Dude, they're like this big. They're like homemade. They are delicious. And now I'm buying them for lunch today. So just letting you know.
I know. We're gonna really transition. The Deep Blue King Night House thing. We did a menu change to really reflect like my local relationships down there, because I was a chef down there for years before I ever came to Delaware, and I have lots of personal relationships. So buying locally, we have a local oyster farmer I went to middle school with, beef farmers that I love at Crow Farm. They also have local wine. So incorporating those ingredients in the menu, getting some sustainable seafood on the menu as well. We're looking to make a move to put blue catfish on the menu. Ooh. So like when this partnership happened, it was kind of like the worst time of year, because I knew we were getting ready to go into the busy season for them. Right. So I wanted to make a menu transition. We did a small one. Now we're working on one that'll be like the end of the season into the fall. And then really, when we roll around for the season next year will be when I think it truly reflects what that restaurant can be. And I mean, it's a beautiful spot. My parents owned it in the 80s, sold it when I was 2, I think. Not to be too gross, but I was conceived there. One of the rooms in the inn upstairs.
That is amazing.
So I literally am from there in every way possible.
Full circle. Holy shit, bro.
I grew up down the street. I always thought it was a beautiful restaurant. We went there as a kid with other owners, and it's great to be a part of it. We'll do some awesome value-driven promotions in the wintertime too, as well as signature dinners with me there as well. Just bought a food truck. Just got the food truck inspected.
Yes. Do we know the name of said food truck?
Shorefire Food, spelled like Eastern Shore. So Shorefire Food.
Oh, I might need to talk to you about that.
Yep.
Actually, because there's somebody with that business name, I believe, like really close.
There's
Surefire Pizza.
Surefire Pizza.
Yeah, but is that it? I think that, and then he had to change his name. I think he had to go through a whole rebrand because of the whole Shore. Yeah.
I saw it. So Surefire Food is available. I own it. I own the URL specifically surefirefood.com.
Thank God.
So even if not, like, I'll do it till I get yelled at.
Yeah, whatever.
I'll just
That's amazing. Oh my God, food truck. Oh, so what kind of food? Seafood?
So seafood barbecue. A barbecue with an Eastern Shore flair to it.
Yeah.
Crab cakes, stuff like that. We're excited to have it. Wasn't really a part of the plan, but the opportunity came, and I was like,
screw it, man. Yeah, why not?
Wonderful couple sold the trailer to me, so excited to have it. Just build those businesses.
Yeah.
I'm really just in a season of, I really want all of these operations and the team and the food and the hospitality to be a reflection of the things that I love. So I'm just going through, and basically, if someone else's opinion or someone else's bullshit was there before, like, I'm just like stripping it away and going, like, I can only stand all the way in front of this if it's all of my favorite things. So, like, let's do that. And so far, what that has yielded is a great sales numbers.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to keep doing that.
And whatever you're doing, you're crushing it anyway.
Oh, thank you.
Obviously, there's so many restaurants that we've seen just cave to the pressures of no customers and rent and skyrocketing food costs. So you are obviously crushing it in the space. So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I think that when, I have a huge heart for anybody that closes in this business, especially if it's a legacy business that's been around a long time. But the thing is, like, you get so caught up in the problem that and wanting to eliminate the problem that you don't look for a solution or a workaround. And I feel like we have to stop making the excuse that nobody wants to work. We have to stop making the excuse that the customer doesn't understand.
Thank you.
Well, if nobody wants to work, it's not that nobody wants to work, because obviously other businesses are thriving and growing. So really the answer to that is nobody wants to work for you. And you need to ask yourself the question of why they don't want to work for you. And that's not me being a dick. It's just me being honest about it. And, if your customer doesn't understand, well, you have a communication problem with your customer.
Yes.
And not that I'm perfect in those things. I'm sure not. But, like, I always look in the mirror first for the solution rather than looking to the outside world to save me from it. And that I just think that we gotta stop being victims and start working on a progressive future in this business that's sustainable for everyone. And not just a stockholder or an owner that goes home to their gated house.
I love that. That is mic drop on that. Where can we find you? Instagram, Facebook, tell us
Instagram,
where we can find you.
Robbie_Jester. I'm on TikTok, not super active. Facebook, very active. Pizzeria Mariana. Ingest Events and Catering. Shorefire Food does have a website, very rudimentary at the moment. Deep Blue at the Kitty Night House. And I do have a little project that I'm working on, partnering with Nemours Children's Health to develop some recipes that'll make kids want to eat their vegetables, and they're super simple so that families don't have the issue with making them anymore.
I was going to ask you, is that going to be a cookbook? Because I was going to ask you if you have a cookbook coming out.
I would love one. We might make it that far.
That'd be awesome.
But that's not in the cards at the moment.
Because if you made a cookbook, then you can donate all the proceeds to them.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, they called me and reached out to me for this project, and I'm super honored to be a part of it and to help out. And, I'm on a health journey myself, and I look at my daughter and go, how do I keep her from the same struggles that I've had?
Yes.
And one of the ways is to just exposure of better foods, more healthy foods, and a wider variety of foods. And I think that this is a great vehicle for that.
I love that so much. I love that you're working with them. And thank you so much for being here. I
You're
know
welcome.
it took us forever to finally get this recorded, but super stoked to have you here. And also thank you for just being a touchstone for a lot of people here in this state. Aww. I know that's shit, dude, he delivered barbecue for my husband's 40th birthday during the pandemic. He is just a big old teddy bear who just loves to give hugs and love. So, Robbie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.